And in these studies, I find answers. Answers that resolve the tension, that resolve the stress and the anxiety, and bring it down to a level of tension in which is manageable. Because I separate stress and tension. Tension is healthy, stress is unhealthy. Tension, it has a vitality to it and a vigor, whereas stress produces anxiety. And it has to do with feeling like we're joyfully participating, which is a state of tension, or feeling as though we've been exiled out of that joyful participation. I first came across these terms, the rule of exile, in Joseph Campbell's work. And he also talks about joyful participation, and I figured, this could be the rule of joyful participation. It's a state of mind. It's a conception. And if the state of mind or conception, the concept, is effectively productive in cultivations, there you go. Toynbee calls it challenge and response. Some responses are not effective in producing cultivations that are life affirming. I was reading an excerpt that I had leafed through in this Schopenhauer's The World as Will and Representation. I was reading an excerpt out of it, and he was talking about having a goal. This is all paraphrased. Having a goal ignites the will. And the will, in and of itself, affirms life, says yes to life. And if we don't have a goal, the will can become sluggish. That affirmation of life can be sluggish. So that in this, there is an idea of self-responsibility and self-accountability to affirm life, and if which is a state of tension, which brings vitality and vigor. And if we get too lazy, if things become too easy, if we are not challenged, then our responses are sluggish and not vital and vigorous. And life in itself doesn't have all these experiences that a human has. So it will lash out at times with seemingly negative behavior. Seemingly negative. But at its root, it is affirmative because it's creating action. Movement. And even negative behavior can be vigorous and full of vitality. And, on another, Campbell also had a saying, one man's God is another man's devil. Right now, Rayleigh's is a local grocery chain, and they're having a problem with their with the amount of monies that the unions that work there are demanding for their employee, for their workers. And they're shutting down stores, and they may have to shut down more because they just can't afford what their workers require for compensation. Now, the corporation may see these workers as evil, bad, wrong, life-threatening, life-negating. Whereas the worker may see the corporation as life-negating, evil, bad, wrong, because they're not giving them enough compensation for their work. So it's a two-way street. And, back to the workers' compensation judicial system and other judicial systems that I've had the privilege to participate in, I've learned a lesson. That I realized that courtrooms are for people who do not know how to communicate. If they knew how to communicate, they could resolve their issues. But the courtroom is a place where communication is learned. The facts of the matter are brought up to consciousness. Not just our own rendition that justifies our own ego-centered self-aggrandizement, but the facts as they are, to which we are challenged by and need to have an effectively productive response. Which goes to what I read in Toynbee. So by communicating this, by thinking this, by really integrating it and making it part of myself and saying I accept this, I can resolve my tensions here today. I can resolve my anxieties and my stress and still reside within a state of tension, of vitality, feel as though there's this vigorous vitality in my learning. However, this does not resolve the situation with workers' comp, and it does not resolve the situation with my loved ones. And as far as my loved ones are concerned, there's an image I have in my mind of our relationship that I would like to have as a goal, that I do have as a goal. And it's not happening. But in it not happening, it inspires me to learn more about interrelationships and behavior, human behavior. And the more I learn, I need to be very concerned with that as I integrate it in a life-affirming way. A yes, a thumbs up, say, I appreciate you as well as myself in what I'm learning. Because there are many perspectives out there that are life-negating and not positive. And because I love my country, I love myself, I love people, I love my family, I want an affirmative behavior, an affirmative stance, a stance and posture with life that says yes. Because I feel this is where America and my being born in America is pointing towards with freedom and liberty. Freedom and liberty to choose the affirmative, not the negative. I would like to be able to just clean house, throw out the crap, and just move on to the positive. But I realize when dealing with other people, they're trying to learn and digest this stuff. And they're experiencing their own personal experience, and they have all these experiences that support that make it intelligible for them. And with my difficulties that I've experienced in integrating new information, I realize it's important to be gentle to be noble, to be dignified, to be honorable in my duty to another human being. And realize that it's a process we learn slowly, dependent upon our experience. And I want to bring the experience that produces effective results or effective cultivations of this honor, nobility, and dignity in the majesty of our humanity. And people learn at the level they learn at. And some people never get it. This is one of the difficult things, is that sometimes people never get it. And I look for examples in life to try and show me, what do I do when I come up to a person that either refuses to get it or just can't. Their digestive tract is, their constitution just makes it so that they can't swallow it. And I've realized that I can push and push and push and push, but there comes a point where I'm only hurting myself by doing so. It's not effective and it's not productive. And this is one of the most difficult things to face when I'm concerned about somebody I love that holds a special place in my heart. I really genuinely feel that the judicial systems are trying to do good. However, I also realize that they're dealing with a bunch of people that don't know how to communicate. And they're supposedly well-versed in communication skills, but they miss the point entirely. That sometimes they're just being selfish. And that's what keeps them from being able to process the information. And I've found in my life that there are times when, even though it went against every fiber of my being, it was time for me to deal with and take care of me, because nobody else was going to do it. And in other people's eyes, this seems very, very selfish. And I want to bring to the world an awareness and a kindness and a compassion that shows that this phase of what seems selfish actually was productive. And that can be really hard, to show that even the darker aspects, what seem our darkest night, can actually be the catalyst that causes the sun to rise. Our brightest light. Out of our darkest night arises our brightest light.